The military has vowed to resist anyone or group of persons threatening Nigeria's democracy as the nation awaits the May 29 handover. Director of Defense Information, Brigadier General Tukur Gusau, who stated that the peaceful conduct of the general elections, despite disturbances in parts of the country engineered by outlawed groups like the Indigenous People of Biafra and others, was a testament to the military's resolve to ensure military across the country, or security across the country. The military has also promised to collaborate with the DSS to thwart the plans of the identified plotters agitating for an interim government over their dissatisfaction with the outcome of the 2023 polls. That's the crux of our discussion next. Joining me in the studio is security consultant Darlington Umoru. It's nice to have you join me this morning.
My pleasure any day, Mike.
Great. And we also have a security expert, Roy Ohideve. It's nice to have you join me as well.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
All right. Now, the last election, general election, had thrown up a lot of debate in the air. And the society, now we see how concerned some people are. We've seen the tense nature of conversations around how people feel. The DSS came out to raise an alarm recently that some people are planning to, are calling for the national interim government, you know, and so on. So all of these things are making Nigerians to be concerned. Recall too that some aggrieved persons from the last election had said that May 29th, handing over or inauguration of the new president should not hold. That if he holds, then there will be no government after that time, and all of that. Let me start with you, Darlington. I wonder what you interpret with that, because Nigerians who are not experts, who don't understand these things, are concerned. Some are already getting scared. Some even have talked about intensifying their effort to japa from the country.
Apparently, that's one of the reasons those who are heating up the polity are doing so. That's one of the things they want to achieve. Instill fear in the people, create some measure of insecurity amongst the people, and then everybody, most people will be worried. Let me take you back a little. All of this started when, before the elections, where some pastors made some predictions. Predictions, or I call it predictions, they call it prophecies.
What's the difference?
Well, I don't know. I leave that to the viewers to differentiate.
Okay.
They had said certain things, that the elections will come. There will be the results of the elections will not be accepted, and then there will be an interim government. That's the end of it, which meant that the president-elect, by their own understanding or by their own projections, would not be accepted. And so there will be an interim government. They even took it far to where we would not want to tread again. As a result of all of that, the elections did come. A winner emerged. Talking about the presidential elections now. A winner emerged. Two other horses, it was 3-horse race. Two other horses are insisting that they are winners and they should be declared winners. And so one of the mistakes people make when they make statements, they do not consider the security implication of statements they make. And they also fail to understand that the statement you make publicly could attract security agents to you. And they could begin to monitor your activities and then begin to follow up on some of these things. That's how intel is gathered. And that is the responsibility of the DSS, the security police. But I am not happy this morning speaking on this matter. I'm not happy because the DSS has not helped us. Hitting the polity more is what they have succeeded in doing. Another thing they have succeeded in doing is helping the culprits to take to their heels. In other climes, intel is gathered, investigation is conducted, and then persons are arrested and prosecuted. You do not release your intel to the public before proper investigation and arrest are made. In other climes, that is the procedure. But here, what we have is intel is gathered, intel that is gathered that ought to have been useful to security agents and the military specifically. That intel ordinarily should have remained within a circle, within the circle of security agencies and the military. And then they begin to break it down and begin to do follow-up leads after whoever is responsible and thinking about whatever they are thinking about. But there's an error here. The error is that whoever was thinking about an interim government forgot that the people do not have the power to constitute an institute and put in place an interim government. It is the government of the day that is leaving office that has the constitutional power, if there is any.
Unfortunately, there's none.
I repeat, if there's any. Now, if you want to talk about the limits of whoever is sitting as the chief executive of the country at the time, unfortunately, the Constitution does not provide for that. We have had that experience in the past, only in a military government.
Which is an aberration by itself.
An aberration in its totality, in all ramifications. And so, whoever is thinking that there would be an interim government, whoever is thinking, like somebody said on one of the television stations, not TVC now, that May 29th, if the president-elect is sworn in, that could bring the end of democracy. Democracy that was hard fought and achieved by the people, and many sacrificed their lives. Election is either you win or you lose. It's in two parts. When you go into election, it's like you are going into a football match. Unfortunately, there's no draw in election. Where there's draw, INEC could conduct another election. But in this instance, we have a country that was only coming out from the hazards of terrorists and bandits. We saw a reduction in the activities of all of that, but now they are soaring again. They are gradually returning again because the politics is being heated. Who knows what anybody is doing behind?
All right, let me bring Roy into this. Now, I know you have been listening to all of the narratives from different people, and even for those who are calling for interim government. Now, we all know the history, where we were in 1993, especially those who were born at that time, not the new generation who may not know what happened at that time. And we all saw how it happened and the disadvantage of it as the case may be. But as it is, the military, the police, the DSS, and all the other security agents and agencies that we don't even get to see or know, understand that that cannot be allowed to be. But having that knowledge by the back of our minds, is it when politicians call for interim government, is this something we should all be concerned, or the security agents will just be like, hey, it's not going to work, so there's no need worrying about it?
Well, thank you very much. And it's always a pleasure to sit with my senior learned friend here. And I like his opening remarks, but towards the end, I think I have concerns. Now, if you take the topic that we have this morning, the military, you know, everybody wants to make statements. We have a plethora of agencies in the federal. In the states, we also have other cascading, lower cascading of agencies. But you will hear that the DSS made that statement, properly analyzed by him, picking nobody up. You will hear that the IG came to consolidate on that statement, like 2 or 3 days ago, that, okay, yes, people are actually, you know, and that just took my mind back to when Malami came back to Nigeria the other time, that he has been given a list of terrorist sponsors, organizations, and persons. And this is like 3 years, 4 years on that matter. So this shows us that as citizens, we have agencies that are constrained. Agencies are supposed to be independent. Okay? The DSS, the police, the military, they have roles to play in times of violence, in times of insurgency, in times of rules of engagement. Everybody has a role to play. Now, if the DSS comes out to say that, what people don't understand is this. It shows that they are totally being defeated. It is a flag for everyone to see. And one thing we fail to understand with that is we forget that international politics, criminality, and suppression of nations, there are countries that could happen that and begin to funnel the flame, fan the embers underneath, funding the violence from outside. Because keeping Nigeria, which is the perceived giant of Africa, keeping Nigeria within all these kind of distractions helps the international nations to still have a hold in Africa. Because Africa is looking for Nigeria to find its feet. It's the big brother. See what we did in South Africa, So right now, Sierra Leone, Liberia, so right now, people may take advantage of that, foreign nations. Then within Nigeria also, for the DSS to come out, police collaborating without arrest, that means they have been tied, twisted. That means they could not activate action on the intelligence that you said you have. Let's use this young man, Portable, that was having this issue with the police, went viral. I know about Tinubu president. I know this, I know that. He was picked up, arraigned, taken to detention, set on bail. You don't need to kill the person. He was not even beaten. But he calmed down. All his followers, everybody calmed down. And everything, he was submissive. So certain actions needed to have been taken. We have political cases on ground. Cases that try to truncate a political process. In Lagos, in Abuja, everywhere. From APC members, PDP members, Labour Party members, all party members. I'm just thinking, if this breakfast given to Portable was given to all the political parties' thuggery activities, thuggery participants, perpetrators, do you not know that to begin to send a message to them that we have a judiciary, we have a criminal justice system, we have an independent agency opportunity to produce constitutional action against violators. So if we had that running, we would have been able to sit tight. The military that is making statements, I read it, I see it, and I wonder, you as a military, you are speaking for the backlog of other commanders that are also looking for the people that pass out from training. There's paucity of personnel. So many abandoned, so many are injured and not properly taken care of. I am the National Secretary of Retired Member of Nigerian Forces. So I'm telling you what I see. So many look at the exited veterans, how they are surviving, begging for constitutional allocated benefits. And we're lying down under the rain in front of Ministry of Defense. Were locked out. They did not even come out with tea or medication for the elderly ones that were there. And this same military that is looking outside and looking inside, seeing generals truncate procurement processes, run away with monies, and they are being arraigned. So what military are you talking about? The one that is looking at how to take care of itself because there is no care from an existing government? So we should be careful because we have currently a volatile situation in our hands. You can't come out and kill all the Nigerians. If a citizen has the right to express themselves. If you look at the disciplined protests that military veterans have been running, sometimes we cancel our process because it's going to escalate violence in the committee. So The government to be careful. The agencies they are pushing forward to make irresponsible statements are not capable to do what you expect them to do. We have a plethora of insecurity engaging the military right now. The DSS that is making that statement, they won't come out in combat readiness against any violence. It's the military. The police that is making statements, they won't come out in combat readiness and sustain it. They have to withdraw. So the military themselves are the ones that are going to still shoulder the whole combation that is going to take place. There is no military in Nigeria right now that can sustain that.
All right. We'll go on the break. When we come back, we will talk about this from what he has said, some key areas we need to touch. You're watching TVC Breakfast. Stay with us. You're watching TVC Breakfast, and on this segment, we're talking about developments in the fallout of the general election, where some persons who feel aggrieved from the election are calling for an interim government in Nigeria after May 29. And it has generated a lot of debate across the country. We are looking at the security implications because there has been a back and forth in that regard in the last week. We have Darlington Umoru as well as Roy Ohidive with us in the studio. They are security experts helping us to make sense of all of these issues. Now, Darlington, let me come to you on this. The word treason has been used several times from the call for interim government. Treason in the Constitution is a serious offense, and in some cases, if you're found guilty of it, it carries the capital punishment from what we have seen in the past. The call for an interim government, some people have said, of course, people have the right, free speech to express themselves the way they want to express themselves. They have the right to protest. They have the right to say whatever they want to say. However, what they say can mean something else to other people and so on. Talk to us from that window. When they call for interim government, some people see it as treason, others see it as the right to express themselves.
When you were talking, I got smiling because I was expecting you to add that even though the Constitution provides for freedom, well, the human rights now,
the fundamental human
rights. I don't know whether it's in chapter 4 now again. Even though the Constitution provides for the fundamental human rights, there are limitations. Your rights have limitations. And if you're talking about reactions to what people say in terms of when they call for interim national government, we've even had situations worse than that, where some have even talked about the military openly, which is treason. The question you should be asking, Mike, now is that who is responding to all of that? Who has gone to court? He just told us about the limitations of the security agencies or the agents who have specifications as to what their responsibilities are in terms of what the Constitution provides. But somewhere along the line, we talked to them about synergy. Synergy. The DSS has a role. When he was talking about those who will be out for combat and all of that, the DSS has a role. The police has a role. And all other agencies have their roles. But they meet at a point. That's why I talked about the security circle, where all of them are supposed to meet and share information. Look at it, and then you provide what you have. The other person picks it, or the other agency picks it from there and pass it on. I'll give you an instance. About 2 years ago, the issue of a foreigner who was to come hit Abuja from North Africa through the Sahel. He was to travel through the Sahel and then come into Abuja through, I think, Chad. The DSS got that intel because primarily that's their responsibility. They got that intel, they shared, and was handed over to another agency that was supposed to pick it up from where they stopped, which was the NIS. At that point, at the point it got the NIS, from the internal memo that was circulated to commanders who were on ground, land border, sea, and airports. The thing was even extended to Lagos Airport. At that point, the internal memo that was circulated amongst the NIS commanders, the memo got leaked to the press. And by the time it got leaked, every press is looking for a story that will sell them. It was blown. Whether it was a deliberate thing, whether it was by accident or otherwise, the news was blown. And the action, the man knew that the security agencies were actually waiting for him, because every information concerning him and his team were given, including the vehicle he was using, the cover of the color of the vehicle, the number plate of the vehicle, the number of international passports he was carrying with different names, and where he was to pick one or two persons before entering Nigeria to join others. But it was butchered at a point when one agency had done their job and handed over to another agency. Apparently, it would have been discussed within that security circle, and then responsibilities allotted. The same thing is what is going on now. Now, if you're talking about treason, it is the court that will prove that. It is the responsibility of the judiciary to say anybody is guilty of treason or not. But until such persons are taken to court for prosecution, the judges cannot sit in their houses and pass judgment and say somebody has committed treasonable offense. Has the government of the day taken anybody to court? Question number one. Has the DSS and other security agencies involved made arrests for prosecution? I am yet to get that fact. They could be working on leads. They could be monitoring some persons. They could be monitoring meetings. They could be monitoring telephone conversations. They could be monitoring whatever they are monitoring. But was it not too early to make that cry? It is, people have said it openly, even aside from the DSS telling us. Some have come out. Somebody has even gone on air to express dissatisfaction to the extent beyond his rights. And I know today NBC has even slammed a fine on that particular television station for allowing that, even though it was not within the powers of the anchor of that program to shut him up. He tried his best, because I watched that clip over and over and over again, correcting him. And he was just there. You see, failure comes, not failure now, sorry. When you lose, it comes with a lot of bitterness. But when you're expressing that bitterness, you should be mindful of your constitutional limitations. Now, this ordinarily, in the face of all of us, are supposed to be treasonable offenses. The man who called for the military, the man who talked about interim government and all of that. But until some security agents are able to put together and make formal arrest and presentation for prosecution, how would they be punished? How would the matter come before the court? The military here, like he rightly said, the entire bulk stops on their table. Because when there's violence, there's a level of violence you will have that you bring in the military. That's why I said yesterday in one other television station that our military today are being overstretched. For matters, internal matters like this ordinarily, the agencies, the other security agencies are supposed to manage them. The military has more than enough in their hands already. They have more than enough in their hands. These are election matters. We saw how they were even also drafted for election matters. I kept asking this question. What is the numerical strength of the Nigerian military as of today, compared or juxtaposed on the population of Nigeria as we talk now? Check it out. It is nothing. The military has a rule. One of its rules is that, you see, when I watch these retired officers sometimes when they made their complaints, particularly when they took it to Abuja, I was in tears. I was in tears because there's a rule within the military circle that permits the military to recall its retired officers at times of need. Peradventure, the serving ones are overwhelmed. You can recall them. It's something they all signed up for. You can call Roy and say, Roy, we need you back.
For special assignments.
And they will come and they will sit down. Then it will be on contract. But if you treat them this way, the man will simply get a paper from one general hospital to tell you he's sick, that he's not fit. But he's lying because first he's considering his life, like I said. These are some of the things that are happening. Now we're talking about people calling for interim government. What do we expect at this time? Should we wait for May 29th? The answer is no. Should people not have been arrested by now? The answer is yes. Should people not be going to courts now for whatever charges as we are talking now and give the judiciary its rightful position to look into the matter and then do whatever they are supposed to do, the needful?
Okay. Roy, let's create a scenario from what he has said in the area of arrests. Now, we have heard, a lot of people talk about treason and so on. If it were in the days of military, by now a lot of persons would have been behind bars. But thank God we're in the democracy. However, if we create a scenario where, based on the statements some persons have made, arrests were effected or made, what scenario do you think that is going to create? Because a lot of persons have said that from the way there's tension and people, have this mind of hitting the streets any moment. If you arrest someone they feel is their leader or someone they have, some kind of affiliations to, there's bound to be a kind of a massive reaction. What do you make of that?
We thank you for the opportunity, and thank you, sir, for you just got me emotional about the military veterans, okay? Because as we speak, there are military veterans dying every day. Right now, we have we lost 6 senior officers and 5 other ranks in our group where we discuss. And we are looking at how they died, just like chickens. And they are related to those serving. So I'm very grateful for that, sir. Look at arrests. Arrest, invitation is a window.
Okay.
Invitation to answer for perceived wrong statements, wrongdoing, is a window. And some of those invitations, some people come with their followers to answer. They wait outside. Then you will now see the man come outside that he has answered the question. He was not arrested, But currently, we have a backlog. Remember before the elections, we said that towards this election now, these 2, 3, 4, 5 months, use it to address former electoral malpractices. Use it. While I'm being prepared, this guy, he's the one that did this for Labour, for PDP, for AP, for APC, all those people. Because in this discussion, we must not accrue credibility to any party. Okay? Because criminality is in every tribe, every religion, and every... I've told people before, my grandmother is Ijebu from my dad's side. My dad is Edo. My mother is Fulani, Kor Fulani. I married from the East. So if you look at that,
you are an all-rounder.
And I'm a military veteran. The military veteran is for the nation. So we must be careful what we are saying. Now, if you deal with those cases before the election, as we were crying, we would have had a lot of people that were seen as, hey, this guy, we deal with them, calming down. That's number 1. 2, after the elections, during and after, a lot of arrests were made. Even when the protests were going on, some that went violent, a lot of arrests were made. I use this portable case to just show you something. If these persons that were seen on viral videos making statements, actionable presence of police personnel at the center, seeing them carry the ballot box and all of that, invite those people, show them the videos, let them begin to answer questions. It would have toned down a lot of things. Invite the APC, the Labour Party, the PDP, who are the key parties that are contesting right now. Invite all their seen with evidence members that were breaking our constitution. If you burnt anything, it's arson. If you killed anybody, it's murder. You understand? If you disturb public peace during the election, you come there and scatter the people, you are disturbing public peace. It's a crime. Just bring them to answer those crimes. Forget about politics. You are a citizen of Nigeria within the territorial integrity of Nigeria. You burnt people's cars. You killed 1, 2, 3. You were seen truncating a process, driving people, carrying ballot boxes. Start answering questions. If I am a bigwig, a kingpin, I will be afraid immediately because I don't know what those guys being arrested are saying. You understand? I don't know who they are implicating. Then let's go higher. The bigger people that you saw asking and making statements, you can invite them. See, before you go to the judiciary, investigating agencies must accumulate enough evidence to criminalize an action, or else you'll be getting a kind of extended judicial process because they will be needing you, the prosecutor, to provide the evidence. You see what's happening in EFCC and all that. So there is a constraint on the judiciary currently because there are so many judicial processes. The EFCC, the police took so much pain and risk to generate intelligence and evidence. At last, before the election, some governors were pardoned and released. People serving tenure for criminal activities in Nigeria went through the court process, are in the criminal justice system, were pardoned and released. You understand what I'm saying? So if we have that, it's already demoralizing the people that are involved in generating intelligence, providing evidence, and the judiciary that will take all of that and say you are a criminal and sentence you. So if we see a process that is fair, we'll begin to look at it. Because if I carry a gun today and I shoot at a crowd, the bullet will not look for APC, PDP, or Labour Party followers. It will kill anybody that it touches. If I throw a bomb in a market, the bomb, the shrapnel, the pressure will not disintegrate the life of party members that I wanted to. It will kill anybody in its path. So we must begin to look at Nigerians as a core factor in the things we do, the things we say, and the activities that we carry out.
Okay. Now, Darlington, we are counting down to the inauguration day.
May 29th.
May 29. As much as some persons have said it shouldn't hold, but as far as the Constitution is concerned, it is going to hold. It is a democratic activity that must hold. Otherwise, it's going to create a lacuna within the Constitution. Now, what kind of preparation should we be having as a people, and even from the perspective of security agents, to ensure that the day goes on and it goes on well?
Apparently, the security agents are alerted, particularly before and after the pronouncement of the other security agents, talking about the DSS and the Nigerian police. I did say earlier on that even though they came out to make that pronouncement public, they would have been following some persons. Calls would have been monitored. It's in collaboration with the Nigerian Communication Commission. The NBC is also involved. The NBC did not hesitate in hammering one of its own for what happened. Whoever think or is thinking that whatever he or she is doing may not be known, may be deceiving him or herself. May 29th is just next month, and I'm sure now is a busy time for security agents and the military. You know, it will be a misnomer if the plans of a few who says that inauguration should not hold comes to pass. As we speak right now, nobody will be oblivious of the fact that the security agencies have been given specific instructions, and they would have been meeting on daily basis, even without the threat. Even without the threat, for every inauguration, security agencies have a way of meeting and planning for security for that day. You know, particularly Abuja, where the inauguration is expected to take place. And then we're talking about securing humans now for such activities. We always know that
especially presidents of so many countries that
will be here. That will be here. I was in one African country recently, particularly when it was just their Independent Day coming. The amount of security arrangement I saw was wonderful. I monitored from certain points till I got to opposite their president's office, and even beyond there to the airport, from there to the seaport to another point. The kind of security arrangement I saw, because they knew that I was expecting visitors. And these visitors, nothing must happen to them. And they must, not just the visitors now, even the indigenes, they must be secured. And so with the threat now, it will only increase the amount of surveillance, the amount of intel gathering, the amount of policing that will go on that has been going on, and that will also go on after May 29th, to ensuring that everybody has a role to play, including you and I. One of the roles we have to play is what we are doing right now here. They also are listening, they are hearing, they also are putting facts together. Okay, so at the end of the day, my advice for those of them apparently who are singing, heating up this polity, talking about interim government and all of that, they've gone to court. If you've gone to court, why not wait for the judiciary to make its pronouncement? By virtue of the Electoral Acts, those who didn't win election, who have grievances, have 21 days to tender such a protest before the courts and put up their prayers. The tribunal, which is the High Court, has 180 days to make written pronouncement, judgment on the matters presented to it. Thereafter, the Supreme Court is also waiting to see for those of them who will say, we do not accept, in case you do not accept the judgment of the tribunal, which is the High Court, and then you go to the Supreme Court. All of these are constitutional measures that you are expected to explore, as also provided by the electoral laws, Electoral Act of this country. And so now, a lot of attention will be focused on that day. But even so, there are diversions now. We are gradually beginning to see pockets of criminal activities by bandits again. One or two by the terrorists. Again, well, forgive my choice of words. Bandits and ISWAP, Boko Haram are all terrorists now by the pronouncement of the courts. Okay? And so, if these things are happening, are these things meant to divert attention or focus of some security agents at this point in time? Are they being fueled from certain quarters to create diversionary attention? So what is really the position? It is not the time for people to begin to make inflammatory statements. Because when the rain falls, It does not drop on Mike's roof alone. It will get to Roy's roof and could also not get to Darlington's roof.
Okay. All right. We just have 30 seconds to go, but let's have your final word on this, Roy.
Okay.
Way forward.
Thank you very much. You see, from his statement, we that monitor terrorism and its activities, we can rightly say that activities from terrorists coming up now is possibly through the approval for there to be financial freedom. You know, because of the cash crunch, I'm not able to pay if I'm kidnapped or whatever, you know, and they too go through a lot to get cash. You know, as we are buying cash, everybody's buying cash. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure that I'm looking at that cash area to say, government have said till the end of the year we can use the old naira. So bring that money, come and bail your brother or your sister. So kidnapping has come on board now because definitely I can pay for my ransom. So I'm looking at it from that angle. Okay. Then for the issue about the inauguration day, I know that the inauguration will hold. And I am sure that we will have maybe pockets of situations. And we'll wait for the court to tell us if whoever is going to rule us.
All right.
Thank you.
Royal Hideve, thank you so much for coming on the program.
It's always a pleasure.
Darlington Omoro, thank you so much for coming as well.
I thought you would have asked me for my closing remarks.
I know you have closed already.
Thank you.
He had closed already.
Yes, sir.
My pleasure.
And he has put it on my roof.
Exactly.